It is Friday, February 3rd. Yep, Friday, February 3rd, according to the calendar. Day after Groundhog's Day. How are things on the East Coast? I heard that there was... Phil saw his shadow, means bad news, but I think in other parts of the country they didn't. So people around the world probably wonder what the heck I'm talking about. In California, we don't really do much about Groundhog's Day because winter doesn't usually visit for very long. But I was playing that a little fast. I'm probably going to talk a little fast too because there's a lot of noise about to go on right outside the cabin here. I see big old trucks setting up to chop down trees. So bear with me. I'll try to get through the news quick. Might play a couple tunes. Try some sentimental ones right now. Haven't played that one in a long time. Hope some of you recognize it. Since I'm wearing Papa's shirt I inherited from my father-in-law, made me think about a song I sort of inherited from him too. Anyway, what went on this week? We had a little Hawaiian stuff. At the beginning of the week, we put out an arrangement in C Wahine Tuning, which is a tuning where the 6th string is down to C and the 5th string is down to G. It gives you a very cool sound. I'm not going to go into it now because you never know when the tree guys are going to intercept us here. But the song was Paniau, which was written by Keola Beamer's great-grandmother, Helen Desha Beamer. So if you hadn't had a chance to check that out, it's very short and not too difficult. Although it has some of the typical kind of slack key flourishes that can be difficult. Some quick little hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides and all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool things in Paniau. And there's a very long story. Matter of fact, this is the first time I ever put together a segment just called The Story. And it's all about why that song was important to me, how it came into my life because of one of my students who was getting married and flew me over to the Big Island to play at her wedding. And it goes on and on and on from there. We even take a look, I don't have the book handy, but we even take a look at some pictures from Helen Desha Beamer's book of songs put together by her grandchildren. So that was one thing. We stepped into the Damien Rice world a little bit just today for Elephant. And then we finished up, or not finished, but Wednesday we had a song that had been sort of requested, but I'd already been working on it by the time the request came out. Badfinger. Again, another cool tune of theirs. I think that gives us close to half a dozen Badfinger songs now with Day After Day. So that might wrap us up on Badfinger for now. I'm not sure if I forgot any of their pretty cool ones, but that was one of Pete Ham's signature pieces too. Oh, I don't have my slide here. Yes, I do. It's somewhere around, but I'm not going to play that right now. So anyway, that was it for the Target releases. We had those three. We had a couple of really interesting fly-on-the-wall videos. One was working with Ed on how triads work. So if you haven't seen the instructional thing I put together called Lead Secrets Triads, which is how I typically think about playing leads, by knowing where the harmonic notes are on any chord that happens to be being played. If we happen to be on B flat minor, I'd think about going here, or here, or here, there maybe, and working with other chords around it and stuff like that. So hope you got a chance to check that out. And then there was another one with Fred where we did two things. One was we got into how secondary dominant chords work and how common they are, and that is. So anyway, but we started with a Marty Robbins tune called Devil Woman. Now, if some of you aren't too familiar with Marty Robbins, he put out a lot of cool country things in the late 50s and early 60s. Of course, his biggest hit was... Paso. So be sure to check out Marty Robbins if you want to know something about kind of, again, 50s and 60s American cool country stuff. Marty, great voice. So that was the Fred and I taking a look at his tune Devil Woman. And then 2 other really interesting things going on this week, and then I will get out of here with maybe a tune. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do. But one was Jack Van Breen from Guitar Showcase dug up a couple actually, of vintage Rickenbacker frying thing, lap steel guitar deals that you play sitting on your lap. And I think they were from the 30s, but they were called the frying pans. So be sure to check that out over in our vintage snapshots corner. And the big news though was something that, and this ties into what I played back at the beginning. Thought about that song, which is called Sleight of Hand, in a long time, but it was used as kind of an opening and closing theme for something we had way back in the early days that sort of disappeared in many of our house cleaning and moving and shuffling rearrangements here. And that was, there was a pile of really cool quick tips that I put together back in the early days, about 50 of them or so, that were short little things on just sometimes as easy as how to hold a pick, and then they got really involved, talking about the Locrian modes and things like that. So a long series of those are finally, we got them out of the closet that they were in and put them back up on the site where they belong. So if you take a look under the Tips, Techniques, Theory, and Styles menu, now there's a new drop down that says Quick Tips and branches out into, I think, 4 different categories: chords, left-hand tips, right-hand tips, and theory tips. So those are finally accessible again, and we put a few of them up in the free section too. So if some of you have been wondering what kind of stuff, some of the other stuff that's up here, there are about 5 or 6 of them up in the free lessons section that give you a good example of some of the things that are there. But these are some just, good reference material things. So be sure to take a look at those. I'm really glad we finally got Mike and the geniuses behind the scenes finally tracked them down and put them back out where everybody can find them, can use them and enjoy them. So I think that is about it. Next week, what is going on? A few little surprises. You can start working on something. I don't know if this is going to happen next week. Okay, there's your test. I know you know what song that is. But I'm toying with putting together a lesson on that would have you figure that out. So figure out how to play that. It's not that hard. Anyway, actually that might be on my agenda for today, which means you might not see it for months. So not even sure we're going there yet. But all these Hawaiian tunes have kind of inspired little surf stuff too. I might have to get back to this one. One of my kids, 13-year-old student, was having a lot of fun working on surf tunes. We got him working on this. Of course, not quite like that. We're working on bar chords and leads. So Ethan, if you're out there watching, that's what he's doing so far. Anyway, but his lesson the other day, he did ask me about other surf songs, and I had to break this one out. Wait, how's it go? There we go. That's it. Sun's out. Surf's up. Let's go. I will see you next week. Until Friday, the 10th.